Hi everyone! In this video I'm doing my OC drawing challenge again. In one of my last videos I did this challenge with my character Daisy since I've been neglecting her and wanted to give her some attention. After that video I got requests to do more videos like that, so here I am. This time my victim is going to be Bonnie. She's literally the opposite of neglected though. I draw her pretty often and she's one of my more developed characters. But I will never pass an opportunity to draw and talk about her. Let's get into it. Like last time, a bunch of the prompts have to do with outfits, so to make it easier for myself, I start by making a blank base of the character, and I will just draw the outfits on top of it like a dress-up doll. Just like Daisy, Bonnie is a character that I made back in middle school, around 2018, and I redesigned and rewrote them in these videos. Bonnie is from The Witch's Sorrows, one of my stories. She is 19 years old, a college student, and a witch. She's a little off-putting to most people. She doesn't talk much, she's really blunt and straightforward, speaks in short sentences, and is really good at eye contact. Bonnie is also aromantic and asexual, though she doesn't call herself that. Not everyone uses these labels or even knows about these labels. Bonnie just knows that she's not interested in romantic or sexual relationships with anybody. She's not very expressive. Here's a 100% serious and canon expression sheet I made for her. Because of this, I'm always very particular about how her face looks. This base is actually not the first one I made. First I made this one, even drew one of the outfits using it, but then I looked at it again sometime later and absolutely hated it. I didn't like the pose, it was way too much for Bonnie, and her face turned out way too squished and wide. She looks like a bug here. I almost ended up using it, but decided to redo it completely, and I'm glad that I did. The second one is much better. I also added a crystal to her. It's a necklace that she wears all the time. I will give more details in a bit. But here's the base, and now let's get to the actual prompts. First on the list is default design. I went with this look I gave Bonnie when I first redesigned her. I actually still really like this drawing, even though I usually dislike my old art. Bonnie's fashion sense is kind of specific. I'm not sure what the style is called, but the closest I could find is whimsy goth. She wears a lot of blouses, sweaters, long skirts, lace, all layered in kind of random ways. The colors are mostly purples and grays, maybe red, but they're all muted. Her clothes are either thrifted, hand-me-downs from her mom, or handmade by her mom. Her family isn't wealthy, so they usually go for cheaper options. So, her necklace. Like I mentioned, Bonnie is a witch, and the way it works in my story is a witch inherits her powers from her mother, and when she's old enough, usually around 13, she is given a magical crystal. In this case, it was made into a necklace. The crystal itself absorbs some power from the previous owner, transfers it to the new one, and helps stabilize it. Bonnie got the necklace at 14, and her family was very excited about it. She never takes it off and it's very precious to her. But Bonnie doesn't actually use her powers much. She doesn't want to learn spells no matter how much her family asks her to. Even simple spells take a lot of her energy. But over the course of the story, as the stakes get higher, she's kind of forced to use it to protect herself and people around her. But anyway, I like how this drawing turned out. It felt really nice to draw this outfit again. Second on the list is old design. Often your character's look changes over time. Maybe it's not on purpose, they just gradually change the more you draw them. Or if you're like me, you take them and purposefully redesign them to give them a new life. Bonnie has gone through a lot of changes, even before the redesign. I don't know how many drawings I will be able to find. Most of them are in my old sketchbooks that I don't have on me right now. When I first made Bonnie, she was very different. I would give her a different hairstyle every time, so it was always fun to draw her, and I probably drew her the most out of all my characters, but that was about it. She didn't have much of a personality or story to her. She was just friends with Mingyu, Daisy, and Sam. At some point I wanted to give her a boyfriend, but that didn't really stick. After giving her many different hairstyles, I stuck to a more familiar lilac bob. Her fashion style was pretty boring, but I was able to find this sketch that's at least a little bit more interesting, and that's the look I went with. Drawing this felt really weird. There are a lot of elements that carried over to her new design, but it's still so different. A much less intense face, a lip piercing, tunnels, much brighter hair. I like this drawing a lot, don't get me wrong, but it's just unusual to draw this design again. She looks more like Bonnie's cousin than Bonnie. Moving on to formal clothes, what the character would wear at a formal event like prom or something like that. I didn't do anything crazy here. Bonnie doesn't go to parties or big events much, so even though this outfit is pretty simple, it's definitely out of Bonnie's comfort zone. I don't have much else to say here, I did it quickly, but it's cute. Next is school uniform. For this, I actually adjusted the base, I removed the makeup and changed the hairstyle. I imagine Bonnie went to a pretty normal school, the same one her mom went to, and the uniform also belonged to her mom. Bonnie didn't have many friends in school besides Mingyu. Other students found her weird or even creepy. She's very quiet, awkward, off-putting even. Sometimes she was seen as rude simply because she responded real bluntly, didn't respond at all, or was staring too much. Only Mingyu understands that this is just how she is, just painfully awkward. But moving on to the next prompt. Next on the list is PJs. I really like thinking about what my characters would wear to bed. Do they wear a matching set, a random t-shirt and pants, or do they sleep in their underwear? In Bonnie's case, she sleeps in a matching, comfortable set that used to belong to her mom. Simple, comfortable, and the necklace stays on. Now we are getting to more interesting pieces. Next up is as a kid/adult. If your character is an adult, you draw them as a child, and if they are already a child, you draw them as an adult. Go figure. I couldn't leave Bonnie's mom, Cassandra, out of this. I drew the two of them when Bonnie was a baby. Cassandra was over the moon when Bonnie was born. She always wanted a daughter. The two of them are extremely close. Cassandra is very loving and supportive. The only thing that they don't see eye to eye on is that Bonnie doesn't want to get married and have children, while Cassandra is a little obsessed with the idea, but Bonnie avoids that conversation like the plague. At that time, Cassandra was having issues with her husband, and they separated shortly after Bonnie was born. They haven't seen each other or spoken since. It was difficult, but Bonnie made it a lot easier for her. I love this drawing so freaking much. They're so sweet and happy. I also think I'm getting a lot more comfortable drawing kids and babies. It took me a long time to get the hang of it. Also, I kept the background pretty simple for this one. In the main story, their family home is very heavily decorated and kind of cluttered, filled with Cassandra's collections and trinkets. But back in the day, it looked a lot more simple. After separating from Bonnie's dad, she could express herself properly and gradually decorated the house more and more. Moving on down the list, next is fursona, and if your character is already a furry, you draw them as a human. I didn't think to add that to the list at first, my bad. This time I wanted to actually try. Daisy's fursona didn't turn out the best. I decided to make Bonnie a cat. Her facial features and mannerisms kind of remind me of a cat. I also decided to make this a full body. I did much better this time around. I'm still not even close to the level of furry artist though. I'm just not sure how I want my furry characters to look. There are so many different ways to draw them, but I want them to still look like my style. That will take a lot of practice, I'm sure. Overall, I'm pretty happy with this drawing. The face turned out cute, I like the colors. I got a little lazy on the clothes though. Back to the outfits. Next is at the beach slash swimwear, what the character would wear to the beach, or you can even draw a whole beach scene if you want to. I really love imagining my characters on vacation, especially when I'm on one myself. It also helps flesh them out in small ways. Are they confidently showing off their body or covering up? Are they a swimmer, a tanner, or do they just stay in the shade? It's really fun to think about. Bonnie would mostly stay in the shade, covered in sunscreen. She gets sunburned very easily. I gave her a tankini and a shawl. She wants as much coverage as possible without getting too hot. She's just like me for real. Next is winter clothes, also something I like to imagine. I usually give my characters clothes suitable for warm weather, but I also like to imagine them all snug as a bug for winter. It also helps flesh the character out a little bit. Do they get cold easily or not? Do they care more about looks or comfort? Little things like that. Bonnie gets cold super easily, so even when it's warm she wears lots of layers. In winter she adds a jacket, a hat, scarf and pants. She doesn't really care if it matches or not, she only cares about being warm. After exploring the character's fashion style, I added opposite fashion style to shake things up. It took me some time to think of a style opposite to Bonnie's. I ended up going with the Decora style. It's very chaotic, super bright and colorful, and kind of childish, very different from Bonnie's aesthetic. With Daisy, I made it into a mini comic where the outfit got picked for him. Here I didn't do that, so no story there. I copied the outfit off of Pinterest. Coloring it was very fun, and it kind of matches Bonnie's purple hair. Kind of. Okay, this is the most complicated drawing from this challenge, and it's also my favorite. Next prompt is with a character they are closest to. Speaks for itself. I didn't have to think for even a second. Out of the main cast, Bonnie is closest to Mingyu. They are childhood friends, pretty much grew up together. Bonnie's family immediately fell in love with Mingyu. They were really happy that someone understood Bonnie as much as they did. When they were younger, their families were kind of pairing them up, but joke's on them because Bonnie is Arrow Ace and Mingyu is gay. But the pairing up calmed down over the years anyway. Mingyu would stay at Bonnie's house a lot, and at one point he even lived with them for a few months. His family is a lot more conservative. They didn't like that he's gay, so they kicked him out once he turned 18, and Cassandra offered him a spare room in the house without hesitation. He kind of became her second child. In the main story, the two of them are super close, but Mingyu doesn't know about Bonnie's powers at first. Once he finds out, he feels betrayed in a way. How could she hide something so big from him? Does she not trust him? He wouldn't have told anyone, ever. That takes a toll on their friendship for some time, but after a really heartfelt conversation, they make up. This drawing was a challenge for me. The poses are out of my comfort zone. The lighting is out of my comfort zone, and I had to draw a whole room. I'm not very good at drawing rooms, but I try, and the fact that it's Bonnie's house doesn't help. I want it to be really cluttered and kind of witchy. Every shelf is filled with random trinkets, from crystals to haunted clown dolls. All the furniture is vintage and doesn't match very well. It's either been in the house for ages, thrifted, picked up on a yard sale, or borrowed without return. The liner took me for freaking ever. I would say maybe an hour, and for me that's a lot. But then the coloring really tested my patience. I wanted this to be detailed, with shading and highlights and everything. Then I struggled with the colors a bit. It is meant to look chaotic, but the colors still have to kind of go together. I was losing my mind a little bit, so I left the shelves in the back all solid color. I'm sorry, that by itself would have taken me like 5 hours to do. I was already working on this over the course of 2 days. In the end, the coloring by itself, according to Ibis, took me about 3 hours to do, which might not sound like much to some of you, but for me it sure is. On average, it takes me about 2-3 hours to do a whole drawing, including the sketch, line art, and coloring. This drawing is definitely one of the most complicated I've done so far. I really like it, it feels really cozy to me. Maybe they're watching TV on a weekend or something. I'm glad I took my time with it. Mostly. Next on the list is with a character they are least close to. I had to think a little bit about this. I was thinking of using Dan for this. She's a witch, he's a witch hunter, but they do build up a friendship over the course of the story. Then I remembered that Elsa exists. Elsa is the villain of the story. She's also a witch, but she's the opposite to Bonnie in a lot of ways. While Bonnie doesn't enjoy her powers and uses them as little as possible, Elsa thrives with her powers. She literally thinks she's chosen and destined to be the greatest witch there was. She got her powers much earlier than usual, when she was about 5. She studied different spells as much as possible, even the rare and forbidden ones. She mastered these powers. I'm still working those plot points out, but I want Bonnie and Elsa to be rivals in a way. Maybe at some point Elsa takes Bonnie's powers away or something like that, or she tries to manipulate her to use her in her plans. I'm not sure, this is still very much a work in progress. The composition here is a lot more simple. I needed a break from that last drawing, but I still like it. I actually haven't drawn them using their magic before, at least as far as I remember. I tried to match their magic to their personalities as well. Bonnie's is more fluid and calm, while Elsa's is much sharper. I could have done a better job at it though. It was added very quickly just so I can be done with this piece, to be honest. Next prompt is their hobby, and I actually didn't give Bonnie a hobby before this, so this actually kind of helped me. Bonnie likes reading. It's quiet, she doesn't bother anybody by doing it, and usually no one bothers her. Usually she reads novels, murder mysteries, or horror. There's a lot of that stuff in their house. Sometimes she also reads her family's spell books when there's nothing else to read. And this actually gives her a reason to spend a lot of time in her college's library. Before this, she didn't really have a reason to be there so much besides it being a secluded area, but making her like reading makes more sense. This drawing was a bit simplified in terms of coloring, so much that I forgot to add highlights and I only realized that while scripting, but I still like it. We are almost done. Moving on to Halloween costume. I went in a silly direction with this one. Bonnie doesn't like dressing up, or kids coming by her house, or Halloween parties. She dressed up when she was younger, usually matching with Mingyu. Cassandra loved it. Basically, I drew them as kids dressed up as a spoon and fork. Yeah, that's about it. And the very last prompt is family portrait. I love designing families for my characters, even though usually they end up as side characters. That's if they appear in the story at all. But in Bonnie's case, her family quickly became part of the main cast. They just evolved so quickly that I couldn't not include them in the story. Bonnie lives with her mom Cassandra and grandma Beatrice. They're all witches, obviously, but Cassandra's and Beatrice's powers aren't as strong as they used to be. Their day-to-day life can be pretty chaotic. Cassandra and Beatrice start their morning with a cigarette and a cup of coffee, then they go earn money in their own ways. Like I mentioned, they aren't wealthy, so they save as much money as they can by any means necessary. Cassandra has an online page where she sells fake tarot card readings and other scams. She could do real readings using her powers, but chooses not to. She's also a regular at her local thrift stores and yard sales, at least the one she isn't banned from yet. Sometimes she pays, sometimes she doesn't, and she resells a lot of stuff. Beatrice usually goes and plays bingo or card games for money, and she shamelessly uses her powers to win every time. She does not care. She's also really grumpy, doesn't like loud noises, and spends a lot of time doing her hair, making sure it's perfectly curled. She's a really intense lady. Cassandra is a lot more outgoing and loud. She has like 50 different hobbies, from crocheting to making soap. There are a lot of her unfinished projects around the house. Both Cassandra and Beatrice really care about family and family history. They have framed photos of their deceased relatives, as well as their own childhood photos. Overall, they are all very different from one another, but they are also a unit and would die for each other. I really love them, and they are definitely the most developed family I made. They're just so inspiring to me. I get so many ideas for them, and you guys give me your ideas for them too. It's great. But this is the last drawing from this challenge. I was so tired by the end of this, gonna be honest. With the last few drawings I was taking a lot of breaks, so I'm not sure if I actually did this in a week, but this was still so much fun. Maybe even more fun than last time. I experimented more, drew not just one but multiple rooms. For me, that's crazy, and I always enjoy talking about Bonnie. Like I mentioned, the prompt list from this video was actually made by me. None of the other lists I saw spoke to me, so I just made my own. And actually I saw some people doing this challenge after the Daisy video, which is really cool. If you decide to do it, you can tag me so I see it. You can also adjust the prompts to fit your character better if needed. But this is it for this video. Thank you so much for watching, hope you enjoyed it. Hope you don't mind similar videos so close to one another. Like, comment, subscribe, all that. Check out my other socials, they will be on the screen and in the description. Stay safe, and I'll see you in another video. Bye! She doesn't want to learn spells no matter how much her family asks her to. Even simple She doesn't want to learn But back in the day it looked a lot more simple. After separating from Bonnie's dad, she could express herself. I did much better this time around. I'm still not even close to the level of furry. His family is a lot more conservative. What the hell, boy? And this actually gives her a reason to spend a lot of time in her college's library. And I always enjoy talking about Bonnie.